What's up, y'all? Hope y'all doing good. So, welcome to a new episode of Wrestling with Rumors. I'm Anthony, and it's good to see all y'all again. Welcome to everyone who's new to Wrestling with Rumors. Real quick, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Keep up with all new episodes of Wrestling with Rumors and everything else that I post here on my channel. But anyway, we have quite a few things to talk about. We got some rumors from this past week to talk about. Remember, all the rumors that I read on here are exactly that. They are rumors until we see them actually happen on television or they are confirmed in some other way. They remain rumors and we speculate as wildly as we'd like. This past week, we've really begun to start accepting what we saw at Elimination Chamber between John Cena, Cody Rhodes, and the final boss, The Rock, and even Travis Scott, which I don't think a lot of people care about the Travis Scott part of it. And also with Jade Cargill and her turning on, and Jade Cargill and how she, not turning, but how she went after Naomi, and a lot of us knowing that it was Naomi that attacked Jade Cargill, and getting some answers to that as well on Friday, and a few other things. But let's dive in to some of these past rumors from this past week before we get into everything else. So, up first, according to PW Insider, WWE will be doing another draft after WrestleMania 41 season is over, which makes sense depending on who wins what championships. It's time to shake things up again as they do. And usually the draft usually happens after WrestleMania anyway, because for us, WrestleMania is really like, it's not just our Super Bowl, our World Series, our World Cup, but really WrestleMania is really the end of a year within WWE. It's like our New Year's Eve. And night one and night two is really just a celebration of the end of that year. And then we get to New Year, and then we get to the next night on Raw, the Raw after Mania, which traditionally is usually one of the bigger episodes of Raw. It's really our New Year's Day, time to start anew, because everything that happens within WWE, it's all about getting to that big stage of WrestleMania. So that's how I've always seen it, at least, is that WrestleMania is the end of a calendar year within WWE. And the Raw after WrestleMania is the start of that new calendar year. So draft, I enjoy a draft, and if that's the case, I'm looking forward to it. Fightful Select notes word getting out of the Rock and Cody Rhodes segment going on earlier in the night at Elimination Chamber was intentional, and WWE planned for them to main event all along. They simply wanted to keep John's heel turn a secret. What's more, while it's not official, The Rock will be involved at WrestleMania 41. It is the expectation. Based on what we saw at Elimination Chamber between John Cena making that turn the world upside down, shake the industry heel turn, and based on how things went at WrestleMania 40 with Cody Rhodes finishing his story, but The Rock getting himself involved in that match between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns last year, I 100% see in some way The Rock getting involved in this match between John Cena and Cody Rhodes, some way. So yeah, I see The Rock definitely at WrestleMania 41 in some way. Per WrestleVotes, the expectation is that Rey Fenix will be joining WWE sooner rather than later, and it wouldn't be a surprise if he ends up on the WrestleMania 41 card. Well, Ray Phoenix coming to WWE, joining his brother Penta on Raw, is something we are just waiting to see if it actually happens. I think I think it's safe to say that a lot of us believe that this will happen. It's just when it will happen and in what way will it happen. But for him to join his brother Penta will definitely be a feel good moment. Nonetheless, Penta has been thriving and having a very successful singles career in WWE on Raw so far, which is no surprise. But the way he came in with his debut and he's just been off to the races with it, has been great. And just to add Ray Phoenix to that and then go from there, I'm excited to see it if it actually happens. But I believe it will happen. A WWE source told Wrestling Observer Live's Brian Alvarez there are more twists and turns coming in the build for WrestleMania 41. And if you think you know the Mania card based on what happened at Elimination Chamber, there are going to be some changes. Well, yeah, there are going to be some changes. The one thing I know when it comes to WrestleMania and just in WWE in general is you never say never, and it's not official until you see it actually happen. So things can change up to the day of night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania. So until it actually happens, until we actually see it happening in that squared circle, the changes are subject to happen. PWN reported and Bodyslam.net confirmed that Bo Dallas was the injured member of the Wyatt Six. It's not known why WWE kept the entire group off television in his absence, but he's now medically cleared and can return anytime, which explains why we've been getting those quick little moments when it comes to Alexa Bliss, because it feels like Alexa Bliss is about to possibly be a new member, either a new member of Wyatt Six, which makes sense, or it could be something different. But I feel like her returning home and being associated with the Wyatts, with the Wyatt name again, is feeling like it's going to happen. And it feels like it's going to be one of those slow builds we allow to cook for a while until we get possibly to WrestleMania or a little before. The Wrestling Observer newsletter heard there was a plan at one point to save John Cena's heel turn for the finish of his match with Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 41. This implies that Cena was going to win the WWE Championship in that scenario and break the record for the most career world titles with help from The Rock. I feel that, and I feel it's safe for us that a lot of us feel this way too, after reading that them doing the heel turn at WrestleMania, would have been what it would have been, right? But I feel like what we saw at Elimination Chamber on this road to WrestleMania just feels like it has so much more to it. And the build now to WrestleMania as Cena as a heel and Cody Rhodes as a babyface just feels better than going all the way to WrestleMania thinking we got two babyfaces facing each other and we're not going to hear from Cena for a while, which we're not. But now we're not hearing Cena for a while because he's finishing this movie, and we're dying to hear what he has to say. And it's going to be a while before we hear what he has to say. But to hear his explanation of it, now we're just waiting for it, because we heard Cody's on Friday, which I'll get to in a little bit. But to hear what Cena has to say about it, and just to hear those deafening boos, this is it was better for them to do it the way they did at Elimination Chamber, because they gave us cinema, pure cinema with this what just happened. And it was, as much as it hurt, to watch, like it did as a kid watching Hogan do that. This just felt different, and there was so much more emotion into it. And it was just, the way they did at Elimination Chamber was great. It would have been, I'm sure it would have been great if they had saved it till WrestleMania to do it, but doing it now at Elimination Chamber, it just feels like it was that much better. The Observer says rapper Travis Scott got all kinds of heat backstage after legitimately injuring Rhodes at Elimination Chamber. There are people in WWE who believe Scott shouldn't have been out there nor put in that position in the first place. I agree. There are certain positions to put certain celebrities in outside of the company, outside of professional wrestling. And him being out there is one thing. Him being out there is one thing. Sitting in the either sitting in the like standing in the corner or leaning up against the ropes is one thing. But for him to actually put hands on Cody like he did and not know the proper way of doing it, I could understand how there could possibly be all kinds of heat backstage from it. So, yeah. According to a PW Insider Elite report, Rey Fenix will debut with WWE after the European tour that ends on March 31st. So, there we go. And as long as that is true, it seems like, as long as that's true, that means Rey Fenix has signed with WWE and just waiting to debut within WWE, which looks like it will happen after the European tour at the end of the month. So as long as that's true, there we had our answer to that. Speaking of the European tour, real quick, we first this Monday on Raw, we have Raw coming live from Madison Square Garden, and then the next night NXT Roadblock is coming from the theater at Madison Square Garden. So we got 2 nights of WWE in Madison Square Garden, 2 great nights ahead of us. And then the European tour kicks off Friday in Barcelona, Spain. And then this is where we get into some of the benefits of Raw being on that European tour. And that is, with Raw being on Netflix, when they show live, it will air when it airs live, whether it's in the morning or in the afternoon or at the usual time that we normally watch it when it airs live. So this is new territory. This is uncharted waters, at least for us here in America, to watch a Monday night, to watch a episode of Raw on a Monday in the morning or in the afternoon. So it's different. It's new. I like it. I'm a little excited for it, and it's gonna be and it's gonna feel a little weird to, after getting to into 5-6 o'clock in the evening, and it's a Monday, and I'm not watching Raw like I normally would because I had already watched it in the morning or in the afternoon. So it's it's uncharted waters, it's unfamiliar territory, but I like it, and this is where the Netflix, some of the Netflix benefits of having Raw there comes into play. So that'll be fun to watch happen live. Next up, SmackDown. So we got some answers from Naomi, and we got this moment between Naomi and Bianca Belair, and cinema. It was pure cinema. If I know I'm not the only one who has said this, but if WWE could win Oscars for the performances that they give during a segment on a Raw or a SmackDown, they would have won Oscars or Emmys by now for what they do, because right off the top of my head, Mark Henry's retirement speech with John Cena was cinema. That should have won an Emmy at least. AJ Styles, his retirement speech and how he did that with Cody Rhodes, cinema, right? That was great. What we saw this past Saturday, at Elimination Chamber, between Rock, Cody Rhodes, and John Cena, and the emotion that we all felt from it as it was happening, cinema, right? What we saw this Friday between Naomi and Bianca Belair was cinema, right? We got the drama, we got all the feels from that, and like tears and everything. It was great. I will say that like Rikishi did for The Rock, Naomi did for Bianca Belair. Now, for the few that don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to Rikishi, back in November of, I believe, 1998, I want to say Survivor Series 1998, I believe that's correct, Stone Cold Steve Austin was run over by a car, and it was left unknown who hit Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin had a championship match later that was supposed to have a championship match. He got hit by a car, unable to compete. He was replaced. And then after Stone Cold Steve Austin was about to come back, we had learned that it was Rikishi who had hit Stone Cold Steve Austin with a car. And Rikishi stood in the ring and said, "I did it for The Rock." And even The Rock was poking fun at it. It's like, "I did it for The Rock," kind of stuff. But yeah, that's what Rikishi took out Stone Cold Steve Austin for The Rock. Naomi took out Jade Cargill for Bianca Belair. So that is why I say, like Rikishi did for The Rock, Naomi did for Bianca Belair. And the emotion that we felt from that was cinema. That's the word I can really use to describe it. It was cinema, especially as Bianca Belair said, "We're done," and she walks away, and Naomi is still screaming at her, and you're still feeling that emotion. And then Naomi said what she said, and that got Bianca Belair to turn around, and you think Bianca Belair is about to do something about it, right? But as she turns around, the Titantron in the background goes to an SUV pulling up, right? And inside that SUV is Jade Cargill. She comes out of the SUV, and then when she's at the stage, about to head down the aisle, she looks at Bianca Belair, and Bianca Belair is just like, "Go ahead. I'm not going to stop you." And Jade Cargill goes right after Naomi, and we got it. And the build to WrestleMania is in motion. Bianca Belair hopefully can now focus at her match at WrestleMania with Io Sky, which I believe at some point will become a triple threat, and it will be Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair for the Women's World Heavyweight Championship. And then Jade Cargill versus Naomi at WrestleMania. So that feels like that. Those two things, this hope now that Bianca Belair can focus on that. Jade Cargill can handle her business with Naomi, and we got those matches hopefully set for WrestleMania. Towards the end of the night, Cody Rhodes comes out, and he brings it out, right? His face a little messed up for obvious reasons, and he lets it all out, right? He brings it all out, and first he tells us that he had to lie to his daughter and say that he ran into something, but then he said eventually he will tell his daughter when she's old enough that what happened to him was that a man was that a man sold out, basically. And at the end of that, Cody Rhodes says John Cena, clearly you want some. Come get some. So that's straight up. That's calling out John Cena before their match at WrestleMania. Now, depending on when John Cena makes his face known, I'm thinking that we'll possibly, since we're on this, they're about to begin this European tour, there is a chance that we could see John Cena during this European tour. Just have to wait and see. But Cody Rhodes has made the call out, and what comes next? Cody Rhodes is fired up, and I'm ready for it. Also, at the beginning of the night, we had Randy Orton starting off SmackDown, and basically, what Randy Orton said was that Kevin Owens has managed to piss off Randy Orton in a way where he's now hearing those voices in his head, and he's going to show everyone why Pat McAfee is the number 2 best punter, as he plans to punt the head off of Kevin Owens. And that's a WrestleMania match we are getting ready to build towards. So, wow, SmackDown overall was a good night, was a good time. And what's coming next in the coming weeks, this has been one heck of a crazy road, one heck of a bumpy road, and I know we still got a lot of road left to WrestleMania. Really quick, before I go, I want to talk contracts real quick. So first up, WWE's contract with Peacock is ending March 2026, next year. WWE's contract with CW is ending sometime between 2029 and 2030. The same is for the WWE contract with USA Network, which is 2029, between 2029 and 2030. And actually not with USA Network, more with NBC Universal. But yeah, the 2029, 2030, those contracts, we got a while. We got a couple years. But two questions I kind of want to ask all of you. First is, where do you think, when the contract with WWE's contract with Peacock, where do you think they'll go next? Do you think that, like what they're already doing internationally with Netflix, they'll do here in the States? They'll do here in the United States, and start showing all their PLEs live on Netflix? Or do you think they'll re-sign with Peacock for a much longer deal? Also, I wanted to ask, how do you feel NXT being on the CW network? I know this past week when we had the president speak, and people in the East Coast had to wait the following day to watch NXT because of the CW covering that speech. I know here in California, we lost about 30 minutes of NXT because of the speech. I mean, it was a long speech, but because of that, we lost 30 minutes of NXT. So I had to go back. I had to wait till the next day before I could rewatch those 30 minutes of NXT. So I'm asking y'all, how do you feel about NXT being on CW? I mean, it's been on CW for a couple of months, but how do you feel with it being on CW? Personally, I'm a little iffy about it now, especially how it's been lately, and how certain things get interrupted and trump over NXT. I did enjoy NXT being on USA Network a lot more, because these kind of interruptions were not an issue on USA Network, but I'm really hoping that when this contract ends, that Netflix ends up taking over NXT, and that's where it ends up. I would say the same. I wouldn't say that I could say the same for SmackDown. I think eventually what's going to happen is these television deals with NXT and SmackDown, when they end, I think the future is to have everything WWE on on streaming sites. So I feel like eventually, and this is just me speculating, that everything WWE internationally and here in America will either be on Netflix, or at some point TKO will create their own streaming site where you purchase a subscription and then you get everything that TKO owns that you can watch live. So that's WWE, that's UFC. That's an idea. I don't think that'll happen because at the end of the day, it's really about money and the money you can get off from the advertisements, the advertisers. So maybe Netflix, or maybe they'll just keep doing the TV deal thing. I don't know. But really, the future is really leaning more towards streaming sites. And what they're doing with Raw on Netflix has been great. And I feel like that is NXT and SmackDown's future in the coming years. But that's what I think. I mean, I don't know what y'all think. Let me know what you think in the comments. But that'll do it for this week's episode of Wrestling with Rumors. I am Anthony. And don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace, y'all.